Good evening, esteemed guests, interns, participants, and honorable dignitary. It's my privilege to welcome you all to the online course of human rights organized by the Legal Research and Analysis team as a part of our ongoing commitment to promoting and upholding human rights in our society. Today's event serves as a platform for us to reflect, learn, and discuss ways in which we can collectively work towards ensuring the dignity, equality, and freedom of every individual. We are gathered here today for an enlightening and thought provoking session centered around a topic that lies at the heart of our shared humanity, that is, human rights. In a world that is constantly evolving, the principles of human rights remain steadfast, reminding us of the intrinsic value and the dignity of every individual. In today's session, we are honored to have with us the distinguished guest, a passionate activist for human rights and a guiding light in the field of human rights, that is Ms. Heena Parveen. Today's lecture will be delivered by none other than Ms. Heena Parveen. So, welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
So, about the speaker, Ms. Heena is a dedicated assistant professor at the School of Law, GDGU, with a robust teaching background spanning over 4 years, encompassing a diverse spectrum of legal discipline. Her expertise covers an array of subjects including international humanitarian law, public international law, family law, and labor law, among others. Prior to her tenure in GDGU, Ms. Heena held the position of assistant professor at Symbiosis Law School, Hyderabad, where she contributed significantly to the academic landscape. Her concerned with her pursuit of an LLM in international law from the National University of Judicial Sciences, Kolkata. Following her completion of BA LLB from Aligarh Muslim University, Uttar Pradesh, her academic prowess was further acknowledged through her qualification in the UGC NET examination held in December 2019. So, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Varshini. I hope I'm pronouncing your name well.
Yeah, ma'am, it's right.
All right, all right. Thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. I believe you were too modest to um, brag about my achievements. Anyways, I'll take it as a compliment. Um, so we are today discussing about the evolution of human rights, tracing origins and development of human rights law. Before we start, I will present my screen and help me know if it is visible to all of you. Is it uh, are my PPT slides visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
All right, right. All right. So the topic of today's session is the evolution of human rights, tracing origin and development of human rights law. First of all, before we get into the discussion of evolution of human rights, we need to understand what exactly is human rights law. What exactly is human right? As the name suggests, I think it is too evident to define what is human right. Right, which makes us human, which is being given to a human by the virtue of being a human. For the existence of the entire human race, we ought to get certain rights. We need to have certain, uh, fundamental rights. In order to lead our life properly, we need to have certain rights. Right? What do you mean by rights, first of all? What do you mean by rights? I believe right means to have the liberty to enjoy a particular area. All right. So the these rights which have been given to us by virtue of being a human is not a new concept. We have developed all these human rights law, I think, long back. Human rights is so necessary that in order to establish the entire humanity, we need to have human rights. What exactly is human right? So human rights basically reflect all the fundamental values and principles which helps us interact, aspire, and coexist in society. Have you heard about the term socialization? Why do we need, if we are human, we need to have certain civilization. What do you mean by civilization? Civilization is to lead a life in a particular manner. Now, what is that particular manner? It means in a social order. Now, what do you mean by social order? We humans tend to uh, go out of a social order. Now, in order to understand what is social order, the society in which we are living have made certain rules and regulations, and we the humans are supposed to live in that particular way. Now, that is called socialization, where a society has certain set of rights, certain sort of rules and regulations, which helps us to be a better human, and we respect the human rights of the other person. Now, in order to get, now, what is the difference between socialization and when you desocialize yourself? We humans are social animals, right? So, no, what do you understand by social animals? We interact, we share, we coexist, we take help of each other. So, there is an interdependence of life against each other. Now, that is very, very important to understand. Now, that is called socialization. When a human body, a group of community, a group of people lead their life in a proper manner where the divergence will lead to certain consequences is known as socialization. The term socialization comes from the concept of sociology. All right, sociology is the study of society. What is society? Society is a group of, it's a territory, it's a place where a group of people reside in a particular manner. Now, we call it society right now, but long back, when you look into the history, we used to call it as a tribe. Tribe was headed by a head who used to make certain rules and regulations. Again, now quite after a passage of time, we started calling it a society. Now, what is this socialization coming back to it? Where in a particular manner all the humans are supposed to be behaved. If in case a particular person is deviating from their socialization, it will attract certain consequences. What are those consequences? For example, in India, if we talk about Indian society, if in case you're not in what exactly is IPC? IPC is Indian Penal Code, where if in case you are violating any sort of law which has been already declared by the government or by the constitution or by the territorial law, you will face you will face consequences. What are those consequences? If you talk about in the language of Austin, law is the command of sovereign backed by sanction. What do you mean by sanction? Sanction means the punishment. So in a way, in order to keep you socialized, in order to keep you in a particular social order, the society needs a set of laws. All right. So that is what is socialization. If you look into the entire discussion here, in why exactly is human rights law is so important to uh, study? Why is it so important for us to exercise? Why do we need a lot of research in this particular area? So we have to study human rights law in order to safeguard our dignity, equality, and justice for all of us. So this is not a new thing that has come into our life. This is not a new thing that the world is knowing, but its importance has been known long back. Long back, where we can trace Magna Carta. Magna Carta came in the year of 1215. 1215 it is. That is the written document, the first written document. But the concept of human rights has came into existence long back, long back. So in it's this particular presentation that I have prepared is to understand how important is to study human rights evolutions. We will explore the diverse philosophies. How come now whatever I am presenting myself here right now might not be accepted and followed by everybody. Now, this is what the entire concept, this is how the entire concept is being developed. One states something, believes something, practices something, the other is always is opposed to something. All right. So, if they oppose something, they will make certain sort of statement. Now, again, another concept will be developed. Another very important part of my presentation will be Enlightenment era's impact. Now, the next part will be the most important part of it will be United Nations formation. Then, after the formation of United Nations, we will come across the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Attached to it, we will read about certain covenants, covenants, conventions. If in, I believe everybody is well aware here. What exactly do you understand by covenant? What do you understand by convention? So, it convention. I'll give you a brief introduction of what exactly is covenant. Covenant is an international contract between two or more states. We will also discover the certain regional perspective of Africa, Latin America, Europe, and India. Why Africa, Latin America, and Europe? Europe and America being the ideal model to be followed by every state. State means countries. And Africa, in spite of the fact that it has signed an international covenant, but their implementation is so poor in their own country, is that it needs a lot of work to be done by the African Human Rights Commission. And then again, India, since we are living in India, we need to study about India. All right. Then we will scrutinize about the global local links, roles of the government branches, and we we will also offer certain recommendations, and we will try to understand the relevance of these human rights in the today's world, right? Am I clear till here? It would be great if I get a response.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. As I previously mentioned, कि ह्यूमन राइट्स जो आया वो हमारा मैग्ना कार्टा के बाद आया. But I believe that human rights came into existence long back. If you take into consideration Indian society, take out Hinduism. Hinduism teaches us every person to live with dignity, respect. We have a lot of, if you go back to medieval time also, and then modern era also, they had, though they had different sects in the society which were meant to work in their own arena, but there was certain sort of thing which was very clear, that Hinduism is a religion which teaches every person to live with dignity and respect, and also aspire everyone to achieve education, freedom of thought and expression, to live without the fear of violence or oppression. That's how the concept of the entire Raja system came into existence. Coming back to another very important religion of India is Islam. Uh, all of you, if I'm interacting with a crowd where there are law students, in the law, I mean, the law students might have read about Muslim law. All right. In Muslim law, you might have read about Ayame Jahiliya. Ayame Jahiliya was a time, was an era of darkness before the advent of Prophet Muhammad in this world. Prior to the advent of Prophet Muhammad, there was no existence of human rights for women. All right, for women, it was a male-dominant society. So after the advent of Prophet Muhammad, Islam came into existence, and it was being professed. And Islam taught us how important is human rights and social justice is for all of us. It gave rights to it gave rights to women. It actually prioritized the importance of women in the society. It banned slavery. It banned all sort of intoxication, everything. So human rights in Islam also include right to life. Have you heard about this particular verse where, I mean, I personally have flaunted on this verse so many times where I quote, if you kill one person, you kill the entire humanity. If you save one person, you save entire humanity. So this is how beautiful these religions are. So the right to freedom of religion, even in Islam, we did not we you come across the fact that we can never force anybody to convert. All right. We have this right to fair trial. We have this right to freedom of speech and expression. We have this right to self-determination. Where do we live? Who do we get married to? We have all this sort of human rights to all of us. Now, before I move forward, if you look into Hinduism, can you trace back Hinduism कहाँ से start हुआ? Can you trace back कि Islam कहाँ से start हुआ? Long back. Since I have been talking about Prophet Muhammad, the advent of Prophet Muhammad, it's for 570 AD. And then we are talking about Magna Carta because internationally, Magna Carta is the first landmark where the concept of human rights was started. So can you see the difference? There's a huge difference. So the concept of human rights have come into existence long back and in our society. Yet internationally, it is being recognized as 1215 in Magna Carta. Similarly, like Hinduism, Islam, then Buddhism and Jainism. I think apart from all the other religions, Buddhism and Jainism explores and professes the human rights more than any other religion. The principle of ahimsa came into existence because of Buddhism and Jainism. The concept of non-violence and a society where there can be a classless society. We call it as a utopian society. So, Buddhism and Jainism by has always aspired that through constant effort we can win against oppression. Again, these religions have taught us how exactly we have to speak out and stand for us against oppression. So, this is something which is traditionally linked to democracy and non-violence. Now, I believe Buddhism and Jainism is the best example, is the best landmark where we can deliberately implicate that the existence of human rights have come into the society long back. Now, coming back to Sikhism, again, Sikhism, universality such as equality before God and freedom to express one's Sikh identity. All right, if you go, I have put this picture. Can anybody recognize what picture is this? Can anybody tell me? Any idea what this picture is? A wild guess also. It is the Golden Temple, which is there in Amritsar, I believe. The reason why I have put it here is in this particular temple, सबको पता है कि लंगर का कॉन्सेप्ट क्या है. वहाँ पे कोई अमीर नहीं, कोई गरीब नहीं, सबको इक्वली ट्रीट किया जाता है. So from there we can trace back the concept of right to equality before God. And if there is a concept of equality before God, it has to be there in the society also. Moving forward, now that is something that is related to the Indian society. Now we come to the Enlightenment era and Enlightenment ideals. Who these people are? I believe everybody, all of you might have heard about John Locke, Rousseau, and Voltaire. I mean, John Locke and Rousseau are quite famous, Voltaire is not, but yet these three people are an example whereby they have represented that human rights existed in that old time also, ancient time also. As I quote, life, liberty, and property, a government exists to support these natural inherent rights of all individuals. If you know the concept of social contract theory, the concept of social contract theory came into existence because of three people, John Locke, Rousseau, and Thomas Hobbes. What is social contract theory? Social contract theory is whereby all the public submits their right to one group of people or one person who will in return will provide a security. Security about what? क्योंकि पहले क्या होता था, पहले के टाइम पे, पहले के सोसाइटी में might is right, first principle, second survival of the fittest. You might have heard about it, survival of the fittest. जो सबसे ज्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग होता था वो उसको अक्वायर कर लेता था, उसको डोमिनेट करता था, राइट? अब सोसाइटी में इसकी वजह से बहुत ज्यादा क्योस होने लग गया. सोसाइटी को क्योस से बचाने के लिए लोग आपस में मिले, बैठे, चलो भाई, we will make one person responsible whereby we will submit our rights. In return, they'll provide us security, peace, and order. So from this point, the social contract theory came into existence, and then followed by the concept of government. Now, what is the concept of government? Why exactly is it's the concept of government is important here? The concept of government is important here is because we have submitted everything to the government. We have elected a government. In case we are talking about democratic government, we have submitted everything to the government, and government in return will have to ensure our security, safety, peace and order, protection of our fundamental rights. You can see the quotes written here on the screen. Yeah. So this is okay. I'm sorry. So these are the three principles that I was talking about. Three people that I was talking about: John Locke, Rousseau, and Voltaire. All right. As it is there on the screen itself, I can quote Rousseau: individuals are inherently good, but social institutions corrupt them. A society's institutions should help individuals overcome their baser instincts and attain their fullest potential. Again, what is the intention behind quoting this particular line? It's just that a particular society needs to have certain sort of rights and area where people can come and they can utilize their potential in order to attain something good. Again, Voltaire: all humans are born with natural rights, but these rights frequently come into conflict. Thus, freedom of expression is fundamental to achieving a just society. In order to be in a society, in order to be there in a society and live freely, we need to have these certain natural rights. Again, what do you mean by human rights? These are the natural rights which is important and necessary for us to survive in a society. For us to behave like a human in a society, we need to have these rights. For example, we are social animals, we need to talk. Since we are talking, we will express ourselves. We have freedom of expression, freedom of thought. So this is, I mean, we humans have, कहते हैं हम, I don't know how many of you will understand, but I would still like to quote कि हम इंसानों को अव्वल मखलूक़ात बनाया गया है. It means the best amongst all the creation of God. It means we have brain. We will utilize it. We can come. We can express. We can invent so many things. That's how this entire world is developing. All right. So these people, this is the era from where we have started speaking about human rights. Now let's look into the trajectory of human rights. Since from the very first slide, I have been speaking about Magna Carta. What exactly is Magna Carta here? We need to understand there is a chain of immense events which has developed human rights so much. आज अगर किसी भी कंट्री में, कोई भी स्टेट में, अगर ह्यूमन राइट्स का वायलेशन होता है, तो इट इज एन इशू which is being heard and discussed in the United Nations. I believe all of you have an idea what exactly is United Nations. Again, United Nations is an international organization which is where 95% of the states of this world are a part of it, and they follow the resolutions being passed by the General Assembly. We have certain primary organs, we have certain other organs attached to it. For example, General Assembly, Security Council, we have Secretariat, we have ECOSOC, we have International Court of Justice. All right. So what exactly these bodies are? They have different kind of functions. Let's not get into that right now. But we need to understand what is Magna Carta here. Magna Carta is a foundational English document that established the principle of limiting the power of monarchy and ensuring basic legal rights for individuals. Now this is where we have this written document which leads the entire international community that we have to fight against monarchy, and we have certain legal rights for the individuals which is basic and nobody can take it away from us. Coming to the next stage where we call it as English Bill of Rights, 1689. What exactly is English Bill of Rights? So here in this particular English Bill of Rights, the supremacy of Parliament was established and the monarch's authority was limited, and individuals' rights were secured by the by trial of as trial by injury. What exactly is it? Parliament का establishment हुआ. Parliament का establishment मतलब you are opening a window, you are opening a door to invite democracy, and you are limiting, you are banning, you are prohibiting monarch's authority. Okay? And by this, the second most very important thing that came into existence, if in case there has been a violation of your right, there will be trial by jury. Trial by jury is a very old concept. हमारे पुराने ज़माने में भी चलता चला आ रहा है. But again, since अंग्रेजों ने इसे लिख दिया है अपनी English Bill of Rights पे, तो उनको ज़्यादा importance दी जाती है यहाँ पर. Again, coming to the next one, French Declaration on the Rights of Man and Citation 1789. So after the emergence of French Revolution, this particular declaration, now we need to understand what is the difference between declaration, what is the difference between international covenant, international convention. International convention and declaration. Declaration becomes declaration when there is a huge a body of states which come together and accept the provisions. So French Revolution, after the emergence of French Revolution, this particular declaration included the fundamental rights and certain freedoms for the citizens. This particular declaration, this international covenant, this international document inspired the global human rights discourse. Now, there were very few people who, there were very few states which used to give certain human rights to their citizens, to their people. This particular document actually inspired a lot of states to save humanity from the scourge of wars, from conflict, from armed rebellion. Coming to the next one is U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights, 1791. The cornerstone of American democracy, these documents enshrine, now, since we are talking about US Constitution and Bill of Rights, this particular document is established the democracy of America, and it actually enshrined the individual rights like freedom of speech, religion, due process, and many more. Many more. There cannot be an exhaustive list. All right. So since we are talking about American democracy, America is a country, America is a state which is so powerful and inspire the entire international community. When a particular step is being taken by these powerful states, it actually inspires other third world states also to inculcate these beautiful rights in their own territorial laws. All right. Now, if you read about international human rights or human rights per se, you will be able to see that this came into existence. This was being this all the people of the international community, all the states were vocal about it in the 19th and the 20th century. You might have heard about the First World War and the Second World War. All right. After the Second World, the formation of League of Nations. League of Nations failed because the World War II happened. After the failure of League of Nations, there was an establishment of United Nations. It was just a change of nomenclature. The states came together. क्या हुआ था कि ये जो सारे स्टेट्स थे आफ्टर द फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर दे विटनेस्ड ये तो बड़ा नुकसान हो गया ह्यूमैनिटी का लॉट ऑफ डेथ्स आई मीन वी आर लिविंग हियर इन दिस वर्ल्ड इज बिकॉज ऑफ ह्यूमंस राइट अगर ह्यूमंस का ही इतना नुकसान हो गया तो फिर आई एम सो सॉरी ऑलराइट अगर ह्यूमंस का ही इतना नुकसान हो गया तो फिर किसके लिए ये कंट्री है किसके लिए ये डेवलपमेंट है तो फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर हुआ फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर के बाद लीग ऑफ नेशंस बना लेकिन लीग ऑफ नेशंस बनने के बाद क्या हुआ कि वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 हुआ तो लीग ऑफ नेशंस की एस्टैब्लिशमेंट का द एंटायर पर्पस फील्ड तो उसके बाद बना यूनाइटेड नेशंस 1945 राइट नाउ वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि ये एग्जिस्टेंस हो क्यों रहे हैं ये कैसे एग्जिस्टेंस है क्या है ये सो इन द 19th century there were a lot of movement against slavery. And since there were a lot of movements against slavery, it actually inculcated the idea of global human rights awareness. Then there was a formation of International Labour Organization. Why? Why? Because there was a huge tussle between both the capitalist class and the working class. The capitalist class, ये वाला स्टोरी ना शायद सबको पता है कि कैपिटलिस्ट क्लास जो है वर्किंग क्लास को बहुत ज्यादा एक्सप्लॉइट कर रहे थे क्योंकि वो उनको बहुत ज्यादा एक्सप्लॉइट कर रहे थे तो अब भाई सारे स्टेट सी इन ऑर्डर टू वर्क इन ऑर्डर टू रन दिस पर्टिकुलर सोसाइटी इन ऑर्डर टू हैव इंडस्ट्रियल बेनिफिट we need both these two wheels. What is it? The capitalist class as well as the working class. So there was an establishment of International Labour Organization in the year 1999, where this particular body, this particular international body, established the priority of the workers' right and dignity, and which came to be known as a very important element of human rights norm. So International Labour Organization was actually set up to give certain sort of rights to the laborers. All right. So again, even prior to the formation of League of Nations and United Nations, we had a body which was working internationally to give certain rights to the laborers. All right. Then there was a formation of League of Nations. What is League of Nations? क्या हुआ था कि a lot of states came together and they decided that we will not fight and we will help to establish certain human rights and we will help to develop the world. लेकिन उसके बाद क्या हुआ भाई? उसके बाद World War II हो गया. Now United Nations 1945, after World War II, it solidified the commitment to human rights, peace and cooperation, which actually shaped the 20th century human rights narrative. Now, if you look into the United Nations का preamble, उसका preamble देखो, उसके जितने भी provisions देखेंगे आप, everything is for two purposes. First, to establish the human rights. Second, peace and order. International peace and order is the main motto of the establishment of United Nations. अब यूनाइटेड नेशंस 1945 में बन गया, सारे लोग आ गए, बहुत सारे लोग आ गए. सब्सिक्वेंटली बहुत सारे स्टेट्स ने ज्वाइन किया. करेंटली वी हैव ऑल टुगेदर रफली 195 स्टेट्स. अब सोचा, अब यूनाइटेड नेशंस बन गए, सारे स्टेट्स दे हैव कम टुगेदर. नाउ we humans are habituated of following a law only when it is written on paper. अगर आज हमसे गवर्नमेंट ये कह दे और किताबों से हटा दे कि मर्डर इज अ क्राइम, किताबों से हटा दिया गया. आप इमेजिन कीजिए कि सोसाइटी में ये चीज एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करती थी और ये कहीं लिखी हुई नहीं, लेकिन गवर्नमेंट ने कहा है हर साल हर दूसरे दिन कहते हैं कि मर्डर इज अ क्राइम. बट क्या हम सुनने वाले हैं? नहीं सुनेंगे, क्योंकि वी ह्यूमंस आर in under a we are under a habit that we do not follow a word, a command unless and until it is being written. So Universal Declaration of Human Rights came into existence again to solidify the international human rights. Now, what is Universal Declaration of Human Rights? The Universal Declaration of Human Rights came into existence as a proclamation passed by United Nations Organization. What do you mean by proclamation of a particular proclamation being passed by United Nations or General Assembly? Proclamation means a document. Proclamation means, or Universal Declaration, the declaration that we were talking about, it means an international instrument. International instrument मतलब जनरल असेंबली क्या होती है? हर एक कंट्री जो होती है उसमें पार्टिसिपेट करती है. जैसे अपना पार्लियामेंट में होता है, a particular bill is being passed, जैसे हमारे पार्लियामेंट में होता है, उसी तरीके से जनरल असेंबली में क्या होता है? एक रेजोल्यूशन पास होता है. ठीक है. तो फॉर यूनिवर्सल डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स, a UN proclamation, a resolution was passed for universal rights after World War II, which actually solidified the commitment to human dignity, underlying a defining moment in the human rights narrative. Now, this is the biggest achievement of this international community. UDHR के बाद, no matter whether you are a part of United Nations Charter or not, whether you are a contracting party to it or not, you have to follow UDHR. You will have to follow UDHR. Now, we need to understand the genesis of United Nations. जैसे कि मैंने पहले बताया, इतने ज्यादा लड़ाइयों के बाद, इतना ज्यादा वॉर के बाद, the international community के जितने भी states थे, they came together and they decided कि we need to have one body which will regulate us. ठीक है. कैसे रेगुलेट करेगी भाई? कैसे रेगुलेट करेगी? जहां पे वी विल कम टुगेदर एंड वी विल पुट अ कोलैबोरेटिव एफर्ट टू सेफगार्ड ह्यूमन राइट्स. ये वर्ल्ड वॉर होने के बाद वी विटनेस्ड, I think we have witnessed the worst devastation to the human race. And in order to promote peace, we need to have a global organization. What is this global organization? This global organization will have a command over the state. Now, see, international law is a total soft law. We cannot do anything about it. Yet, an effort was taken for what? In order to solidify, in order to protect the human rights, in order to promote international peace and security. This global organization were to have certain functions, were to have certain powers. Now, it was founded in the year 1945, but even in the late 1970s, small states joined as a contracting party to it. Okay. Now, United Nations Organization advocated for justice, equality, collective security, and it actually again solidified the human rights narrative. As I discussed, the most important part is Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Universal Declaration, किसी को कुछ आए ना आए, Human Rights में Universal Declaration of Human Rights आना ही चाहिए. Universal Declaration of Human Rights adopted and put into effect on 10th of December 1948. इसीलिए 10th of December को ह्यूमन राइट्स डे हम लोग सेलिब्रेट करते हैं. ठीक है. It was adopted in the year 1948, 10th December, by the United Nations General Assembly. Now we need to understand why exactly this particular Universal Declaration of Human Rights is considered as a landmark judgment. Sorry, document, landmark document. So we will understand how did it solidify the rights we have been talking about for so long. If you look into Article 1, it talks about equality. Equality amongst all, no matter you're a male, you're a female, you are a business class person, you are a capitalist class, you're a working class, no matter what, you deserve equality. It's a human right. It has to be established and inculcated amongst everybody without any discrimination. The reason why equality and non-discrimination was put all together was because of this only. Equality and non-discrimination. Unless and until there is non-discrimination, there is a rule against discrimination, you cannot establish equality. That is Article 1. That is the primary article. Nobody should forget about it. Now coming back to Article 3, talks about the most important fundamental right and the most important human right of human existence, I believe. Right to life, liberty, and security. If you make a comparative analysis with the Indian Constitution, in which article do we have the right to life and personal liberty? Can anybody tell me? Can I get a response?
Article 19 to 21.
Absolutely. Absolutely correct. We have right to life, liberty, and security from Article 19 to Article 21. 21 talks about right to life and personal liberty. If you talk about security, if you talk about liberty, all the liberties have been inculcated under Article 19. 19 is a cluster of certain freedoms, certain rights. Then again, we will come across under Article 549 of UDHR, we have freedom from torture, slavery, arbitrary arrest. Now, if anybody is if they have studied Constitution, we all know how beautifully we have incorporated these laws in our Indian Constitution. Freedom from torture, slavery, arbitrary arrest. We have certain rights against arbitrary arrest. Which article of Indian Constitution? Can anybody tell me?
So habeas corpus.
It is. The rate of habeas corpus is also there. And
Right against exploitation.
sorry, right against?
Could you repeat your question again?
My question is, where in our Indian Constitution we have this right against arbitrary arrest?
Um, well, Article 32.
We have all the rates in Article 32. You're absolutely right. We have the rate of habeas corpus. And apart from that, what is Article 22?
Right to life.
Article 22 is right to life.
No.
Is
I'm
it?
sorry.
Article, what is Article 22? Go and search it. Tell me. I believe not everybody can remember it. I mean, recall everything at a time. You can tell me what is Article 22 of
Right
Indian
against
Constitution.
exploitation.
Sorry, a bit louder, please.
Ma'am, maybe a person who is arrested, he should be informed that why they are arrested.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Good. Good attempt. All right. Before I proceed, we have Alok Kumar. I was speaking to Alok, right? Hi, Alok.
Hi, ma'am. A
All
very
right.
good
You have.
evening.
Good evening. You have put a very beautiful question where you have commented on the fact that this global organization that we have been praising all about is not able to maintain peace. We have witnessed uh, a live war between Russia and Ukraine, and we have seen a lot of loss of life on both the sides. Absolutely correct. But can you tell me why the United Nations organization did not take a step to it?
Maybe because there are a lot of, power influence of powerful countries we can witness, like United States, the European Unions, because they want their own benefits in the geopolitics, and we can witness that.
All right, that's one way. But then, can you specify? See, Russia, Ukraine is all political war going on. We know that, right?
Right, ma'am.
But tell me, who are those states which are the five permanent members of Security Council? Can anybody tell me? Ha, Kushi, please go ahead.
And
Well, USA, France, Britain,
Hmm.
Japan,
Yeah.
uh,
You can Google it. I mean, it's very easy. You can just Google it. Tell me. Alok, can you tell me?
I was just saying that it's France, China, after that United States, followed by Russia, and there is one more, I
Russia.
guess.
You know what is the importance of being a permanent member of Security Council?
Yes, ma'am, that if there is a kind of, if they bring any kind of proposal, then if one party or one country denies, then that cannot be passed. So it needs
Absolutely
a
correct.
permission of all.
Do you think that Russia, being a permanent member of Security Council, has a role to play and role to dominate? Alok, can you hear me?
I don't have anything like this, ma'am.
Sorry.
Sorry, ma'am, I have very slow internet connection, so I am facing some issues.
All right. All right. Should I repeat? Am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am, now you're audible. Please repeat the
Ha.
question.
So ki, uh, I am asking that do you think that Russia, being a permanent member of Security Council, have a huge role to play? That nobody in the Security Council, I mean, none of the group of states came forward to object on the fact that Russia was actually is having an armed conflict against Ukraine. Do you think Russia, as a permanent member of Security Council, has a role to play?
Yes, ma'am, if it's a permanent member, I think that it might be having some roles definitely. Yes,
Absolutely.
you
See, the
cannot
reason.
deny its power and state it has in the geopolitics.
Hmm, absolutely. The reason, see, here I am not promoting United Nations organization. What I'm trying to say that we have the entire concept of international law is a soft law. Now the state has developed so much in the 21st century right now, but earlier it was absolutely a soft law. अगर कोई स्टेट आपके अगेंस्ट अगर किसी तरीके से वॉर डिक्लेयर कर दी, यू नो व्हाई वी हैव इंटरनेशनल ह्यूमैनिटेरियन राइट, आई मीन ह्यूमैनिटेरियन लॉ इन द एग्जिस्टेंस. कैन एनीबडी टेल मी कि ह्यूमैनिटेरियन लॉ और ह्यूमन राइट्स लॉ में क्या डिफरेंस होता है? कोई बता सकता है? एनीबडी गेस इट. गलत होगा तो होगा.
Ma'am, there can be some ways in humanitarian law which can be interpreted by legal false effects which need to be protected by law, where
Hmm.
the human law, human right is a legal right, or it is the basic right which a human needs.
All right. Anybody else who can make an attempt to answer this? The difference between human rights law and um, international humanitarian law. Anybody? Good, Alok. You made a good attempt to answer it. So, international humanitarian law are those laws which regulate war. Nowhere in United Nations Charter have prohibited war. They have told all the states, they have instructed all the states how to initiate a war, how to defend a war, what kind of weapons to be used. International humanitarian law is a whole different branch of law which regulates war. But what is the international human rights law? I mean, human rights is where the rights of a person is being maintained during peace. So there is a law which is being regulated at the time of war. One is at the time of peace. All right. So coming back to you, Alok, and answering this particular question and praising your comment, because Russia, being a permanent member of Security Council, has actually a very dominant position, due to which even the General Assembly or the Security Council couldn't take an initiative against Russia. No, since Russia is again one of the most powerful nations across the world, none of the states would take any यू नो कोई कोई उनके अगेंस्ट कोई अपना ग्रज नहीं रखेगा, नॉट इवन इंडिया, नॉट इवन पाकिस्तान, नॉट चाइना, नॉट नन ऑफ द स्टेट्स कोई अपना मतलब रिलेशंस रशिया के साथ क्यों खराब करेगा इन ऑर्डर टू सेव यूक्रेन। यूक्रेन जबकि सब दे कॉल्ड फॉर हेल्प, आई मीन everybody from everybody, but it is again a whole lot of I believe it's a political turmoil, it's a political war, and we all have suffered because of it, all of us. And we have Rakhi. Rakhi has requested me to share the PPT in the group. I it with Kashif, and Kashif will share it with all of you. All right? Should we move forward? All right.
Ma'am, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So coming back to some of the key principles of UDHR, see the reason why I have noted, I know this is very boring, yet I want everybody, all of you, to understand why these are called as the key principles, because this is one of the landmark document which has established and solidified the concept of human rights in this international community. All right, we have the principles of justice, privacy, and freedom of thought inculcated in Articles 10, 12, and 18, and UDHR is the reason why we have a international human rights law and policy in a particular shape. All right. Now, before we get into that, I would like you to understand the concept of Westphalian theory. What is Westphalian theory? Can anybody tell me? तो बताएगा मुझे Westphalian theory क्या होती है? I will write it down in the chat box. The spelling Westphalian theory. Anybody? The concept of the meaning of Westphalian theory is the concept of sovereignty. What do you mean by sovereignty? ये तो पता होना चाहिए भाई सबको.
Ma'am, independence of freedom.
Independence of
Freedom. Like
all right.
Like the one who has the power to rule according to one's own needs and requirements.
And none of the other state would interfere in our personal matter or territorial matter or municipal matter. Anybody else?
And for the same, India has advocated non-alignment movement during the World War.
Absolutely. Anybody else?
Ma'am, exercising the powers across the country without any limitations, we can say that.
All right. Now you tell me. All of you have answered my question absolutely correct. We have the concept of Westphalian theory. But अगर आप अपने कंट्री में सपोज आपने यूडीएचआर साइन कर दिया, we all, I mean, taking into consideration India is a very prominent member of UDHR. ठीक. And we have the concept of Westphalian theory of sovereignty. Can the government of India, in its own state, in its own country, can make gross violations of human rights, and yet they cannot be called at international stage and being questioned about the violations of human rights? ये तो मेरा घर का मामला है, घर का मैटर है. हम अपने घर पे किसी भी स्टेट में अटैक करवाएं, किसी भी कम्युनिटी पे अटैक करवाएं, किसी भी पर्टिकुलर एथनिक ग्रुप पे अटैक कराएं या उनका ह्यूमन राइट्स का वायलेशन करें, यू टेल मी. क्या इंडिया ऐसा करेगा और इंटरनेशनली वो लायबल होगा?
Yes, ma'am, it will be liable because.
क्यों? लेकिन we have sovereignty, no?
Right. Definitely, we have sovereignty, but there are some kind of limitations over it because if we are assigned and we are incorporated with the United States and its forums, and we have signed the humanitarian law, and irrespective of that article, then it is our particular duty to perform and protect the human rights among the country, whether it's between any kind of religion, community, or whatsoever, because that will definitely put a kind of negative effect not just in country but also around the geopolitics and other international states.
Absolutely.
So that would
Very
be a
good.
good example.
Very good. Khushi?
Ma'am, almost the same answer. Like we are also part of the United Nations, and like it has taken this step, like taken this step against the violation of human rights across the world. So we also like fall under its ambit. So
बट मुझे खुशी एक बात का आंसर कीजिए. कि भाई मेरा स्टेट है, गवर्नमेंट कुछ भी कर रहा है वो तो मेरा पर्सनल मैटर है ना, वो तो मेरा म्यूनिसिपल मैटर है, कोई दूसरा स्टेट क्यों इंटरफेयर करेगा?
Ma'am, it's unjust and like internationally also we are liable to each other.
All right, you are absolutely right, but I will curate your answer to fit in. Westphalian theory is the concept of sovereignty. Done. Agreed. Accepted. But the moment we become a contracting party to a particular international covenant or instrument, we neutralize our boundaries, whereby we submit a certain sort of power to the other contracting state where they can object if in case we are not adhering to the provisions of that particular international convention, they will object to it. Clear? So the old concept of Westphalian theory is now is getting relaxed after globalization, liberalization, and privatization. Now this boundary is opening up, whereby the other state, being the contracting member of that particular international convention, have a right to object. In specific, I am talking about human rights laws. Human rights law have been taken as one of the most sensitive issues in this international community. So if in case there is a gross violation of that particular issue, it is a global issue. Why? Because you are a part of that contracting state. You're a contracting state. The moment you have signed the document, you have to adhere those rules and inculcate those rules in your country. India follows the concept, the theory of dualism. Everybody might be aware of the concept of monoism and dualism. Alright? आप dualism क्या होता है? किसी को idea है? Kushi, you raised your hand. Tell me. You're saying something.
Ma'am, I had a question.
Please go ahead.
Ma'am, as you said, like UN objects the violation of human rights in India in those countries who are a part of its contract or something. Like
No,
every
no. Hear me out again. खुशी, hear me out again. Okay? एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट साइन हो रहा है. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट तो सबको पता है, दो लोगों के बीच में, दो से ज्यादा लोगों के बीच में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होता है. अगर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का वायलेशन होता है तो you can go before the court of law and either go for specific performance of that contract or you can seek remedy. In that remedy, you can either claim compensation or again go back for specific performance of contract. International instruments are of a very similar nature, right? So in case you are signing a document of ratification in an international convention, what exactly do you mean by it? It means that the other contracting state as well as you as a contracting state have to inculcate those provisions in your municipal law. First thing. Second, you will have to adhere by those provisions. You will have to adhere by those provisions. United Nations का यहाँ पे कोई रोल नहीं है अभी फिलहाल. Forget about United Nations organization. What I am saying is international convention. आपने एक contract sign किया, आपको वो follow करना पड़ेगा, or else there will be certain consequences. What can be those consequences? बाकी के जो स्टेट हैं वो अपना रिलेशनशिप टाइज आपसे खत्म कर देंगे, कॉमर्शियल टाइज आपसे खत्म कर देंगे. दे विल गो फॉर एम्बार्गो, दे विल गो फॉर अदर डेडलॉक्स. ठीक है. व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू मेक यू अंडरस्टैंड इज कि यूनाइटेड नेशंस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज वन थिंग. वो तो कोई काम अपना साइन कर रहे हैं, वो अपने डॉक्यूमेंट पास कर रहे हैं, वो एक बॉडी है जो रेगुलेट कर रही है, दैट इज वन थिंग. लेकिन नॉट ऑल इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, सॉरी, not all international conventions is relating to United Nations organization. So every international convention will have a provision which will establish a committee. ठीक है. उस कमिटी का काम क्या होगा? आप अगर आप have you ये देखिए आपके स्क्रीन पे दिख रहा होगा इंटरनेशनल ह्यूमन राइट्स कोवेनेंट. ये सारे क्या है? इंटरनेशनल ह्यूमन राइट्स कोवेनेंट का मतलब क्या होता है? मतलब ये सारे जो कोवेनेंट्स हैं, ये सारे जो कन्वेंशंस हैं, ये किससे रिलेटेड है? ह्यूमन राइट्स से रिलेटेड है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल लेट्स, ये सबसे कॉमन है सिडो. ये सब जानते हैं, सिडो के बारे में सब जानते हैं. Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. India signed this document in the year 1987. Yet the provisions were included in the municipal law in the year 2013. Everybody, every single person in this class might know about the Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan case in the year 1994. What exactly is this? Where the judiciary have taken a step and have adopted the provisions of CEDAW when there was no provision relating to it in the municipal law. What I am trying to say here is कि देयर इज अ कमिटी. व्हाट इज दिस कमिटी? कोई कमिटी अलग ऊपर से उतारी गया कोई एलियन तो नहीं है ना. ये कमिटी होते क्या है? ये अपनी स्टेट के लोग होते हैं, वही कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग स्टेट होते हैं जो लुक आउट करते हैं. देयर इज ऑलवेज अ चेक एंड बैलेंस. दे विल लुक आउट वेदर देयर हैज बीन अ ग्रॉस वायलेशन ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स और नॉट. अगर वैसा कोई ह्यूमन राइट वायलेशन होते हैं तो व्हाट विल द कमिटी डू? द कमिटी विल ऑब्जेक्ट टू इट and there are certain consequences as I mentioned earlier. Am I clear, Khushi?
Yes, ma'am. So
Clear it?
so
Hmm.
is it applicable to the other countries as well that are not a part of human rights convent?
Yeah, absolutely. Even when there was an ethnic cleansing going on in China, it was being objected, it was raised in General Assembly. Again, the same issue that came up as that of Russia, that China being a permanent member of Security Council couldn't be done against anything yet. But what I'm trying to say is, on paper, what are the rules and regulations? If you're signing an international covenant or convention or a declaration, आपको वो फॉलो करना पड़ेगा. एक बहुत सिंपल सी बात है ना. खुशी और हिना के बीच में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो रहा है. मैंने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एंड इट इज अ लीगली एनफोर्सेबल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. तो अगर मैं अपना कॉन्ट्रैक्ट पूरा नहीं कर रही हूँ, इफ आई एम नॉट परफॉर्मिंग माय फंक्शंस वेल, what will you do? You will knock the court of law, the door of court of law, and you will seek compensation. You will seek a remedy. You will go for specific performance of contract. ये सब क्या है? रेमेडी है. ये तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट की बात हो गई. सिमिलरली कोई भी कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग पार्टी, अगर देयर हैज बीन अ ग्रॉस वायलेशन इन स्पाइट ऑफ द फैक्ट दैट यू हैव साइंड एन इंटरनेशनल कोवेनेंट, तो क्या होगा? यू विल बी मेड लायबल. देयर विल बी सर्टेन कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस. now इसका सबसे बड़ा एग्जाम्पल बताती हूँ. सबसे बड़ा एग्जाम्पल, forget about these human rights conventions. You know that we have international fundamental law. We have a right to get clean air, right to get clean water. Internationally also we have the established principles. ठीक है. कल को कोई भी कंट्री अगर ट्रांस बाउंड्री हार्म करता है तो विल वी नॉट ऑब्जेक्ट अगेंस्ट इट? वी विल. You can create a boundary in a territory, in a country, but you cannot create a boundary in the ecosystem. If one is getting exploited, the impact of it will be there on the others also. The reason why international environmental law is so much on peak these days is because everybody is busy saving their own resources. They want to exploit it, they want to save the ecosystem also. I mean, it is conflicting in nature. It's very simple. You sign an international convention, you will be made liable for the violation. Very simple. Get it? Any other question? Alright. Let's move forward. These are some of the most important human rights covenant. सबको पता है यूडीएचआर के साथ दो कन्वेंशन आते हैं, कोवेनेंट आते हैं. 1966 में ये सब साइन हुआ. International Covenant on Civil and Politics. Is it visible to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right. We all know about the civil and political rights and economic, social and cultural rights. लेकिन do we know about the concept of reservation? Do we have any idea about it?
Repeat again.
Huh?
Please repeat again.
Do you know about the concept of reservation? Reservation के बारे में पता है?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
What is it?
Ma'am, when we give exclusive rights to a particular community or particular group of people on the basis of their status.
That is reservation के दो मतलब है. ये जो आपने बताया, ये हमारा वो मतलब है जो हम अपनी कंट्री में अलाउ करते हैं या फॉलो करते हैं. What I am asking is, what do you mean by reservation at international stage? Alok, do you have any idea what is reservation?
No, ma'am. Just a first year student. So I have
Okay, well, yet you know so much about international law. I'm impressed. Anyways, I'll tell you what is reservation. Reservation का एक बहुत सिंपल सा मतलब होता है. पहले आप थोड़ा सा हिंदी में समझने की कोशिश कीजिए. ठीक है. Suppose let's pick up international covenant on civil and political rights. ये हमारा पहला covenant है. ठीक है. इंडिया एक ऐसे पोजीशन पे है. नहीं, चलो एक वो वाला एग्जाम्पल उठाते हैं. ठीक है. कन्वेंशन ऑन द एलिमिनेशन ऑफ ऑल फॉर्म्स ऑफ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन अगेंस्ट वुमेन. कन्वेंशन का नाम पढ़ के समझ में आ रहा है हमें कि कन्वेंशन किस चीज से रिलेटेड है. कन्वेंशन इस चीज से रिलेटेड है कि आप विमेन के अगेंस्ट किसी तरह का डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं कर सकते। ठीक, क्लियर है? आप सोचिए, इन द ईयर 1987 द डॉक्यूमेंट वाज साइंड बाय इंडिया, द इंस्ट्रूमेंट ऑफ रैटिफिकेशन वाज साइंड बाय इंडिया, बट इसका लॉ जो है हमारे कंट्री में बन के आया 2013 में। क्यों? आपको क्या लगता है? जब भी किसी स्टेट, अब हमारे कंट्री जो है ना बहुत डाइवर्स है, बहुत डाइवर्स कंट्री है। हमारा पॉलिटिकल स्टेटस विमेन का भी बहुत डिफरेंट है, और फैमिली स्टेटस भी बहुत डिफरेंट है, पर्सनल स्टेटस बहुत डिफरेंट है, मतलब बहुत डिफरेंट है। वी आर अ डाइवर्स ग्रुप ऑफ कम्युनिटी जहाँ पे एक पर्टिकुलर लॉ इमीडिएटली अप्लाई नहीं किया जा सकता है। ठीक है, तो जब भी अब हम सारे लोगों को हमारा गवर्नमेंट तो बहुत अच्छे से जानता है, तो आप इंटरनेशनली जब हमें रिप्रेजेंट करने जा रहे हैं, आपको पता है कि इसमें से कौन सा रूल आप इमीडिएटली अप्लाई नहीं कर सकते हो, तो उसमें क्या किया जाता है, उस पर्टिकुलर प्रोविजन पे आप क्या करते हो, ऑब्जेक्शन, नॉट ऑब्जेक्शन, आप रेजर्वेशन लेते हो। जिस पर्टिकुलर प्रोविजंस पे भी आप रेजर्वेशन लेते हो वो आपके ऊपर लीगली एनफोर्सिएबल नहीं होता है। There is no legal consequence, there is no legal effect of that particular provision on which you have taken a reservation. We have a separate entire set of law for reservation. इसको कहते हैं लॉ ऑफ ट्रीटीज, वियना कन्वेंशन ऑफ लॉ ऑफ ट्रीटीज जो है हमारे पास एक सेपरेट, एक हमारा पूरा एंटायर बॉडी ऑफ प्रोविजंस है जो कि हमारे पूरे ट्रीटीज को गवर्न करती है, कन्वेंशंस को गवर्न करती है। यानी कि अनलेस एंड अनटिल इट opposes the the object, the main purpose and object of the covenant, you cannot take a reservation. अब जाहिर सी बात है, जीनोसाइड कन्वेंशन के बारे में सबको पता है। जीनोसाइड कन्वेंशन केम इन द ईयर 1948, सबको पता है, यू कैन नॉट डू जीनोसाइड अगेंस्ट एनीबॉडी। ठीक, आपने क्या किया, जीनोसाइड कन्वेंशन के डेफिनेशन के ऊपर ही रिजर्वेशन ले लिया। कैसा हो सकता है? आपके पार्टी होने का कोई मतलब नहीं बनता, आपको पार्टी होने से निकाल दिया जाता है। तो इसी तरीके से रिजर्वेशन हम लोग लेते हैं if in case that particular state is not able to inculcate or incorporate those provisions immediately in their state, इसको कहते हैं reservation. So India, when was signing international covenant on civil and political rights, international covenant on economic, social and cultural, जितने आपको rights दिख रहे हैं ना स्क्रीन पे, सब पे किसी ना किसी तरीके का या तो उन्होंने reservation लिया है या declaration लिया है। क्लियर? अब समझ में आया थोड़ा बहुत reservation का concept?
Yes, ma'am.
If in case a particular country has taken a reservation on any particular provision of the covenant, then that particular provision will not be applicable on that country which has taken the reservation. Very simple. यहां तक समझ में आया? किसी को कोई ऑब्जेक्शन? तो जैसे ही ये सारी चीज क्या है, स्टेप्स हैं, एक ट्रीटी को फॉलो करने का, इनकलकेट करने का, साइन करने का अपना एक स्टेप है। एक स्टेप उसमें क्या है, रैटिफिकेशन है। रैटिफिकेशन, इंस्ट्रूमेंट ऑफ रैटिफिकेशन किसको कहते हैं? आप एक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव भेजते हैं इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी में, बैठ के वहां पेपर वर्क देखेगा, साइन करेगा, चलाएगा। लेकिन क्या वो डिसीजन जो ले रहा है वो हमारे ऊपर मतलब कंपलसरी है? नहीं। हमारा गवर्नमेंट क्या है उसको देखेगा, जब तक वो साइन नहीं करेगा तब तक वो ट्रीटी, वो पर्टिकुलर इंटरनेशनल कोवेनेंट और कन्वेंशन हमारे ऊपर अप्लाई नहीं होगा। अब हम एक छोटा सा इंट्रोडक्शन आपको देते हैं मोनोइज्म का और डुअलिज्म का भी। मोनोइज्म इंटरनेशनल लॉ पे ये दो इंपॉर्टेंट थ्योरीज हैं। ठीक, एग्जाम्पल भी बताते हैं। मोनोइज्म क्या होता है? अगर कोई स्टेट एक इंटरनेशनल कोवेनेंट साइन कर रही है तो वो डायरेक्टली उनके कंट्री पे अप्लाई हो जाता है, उनके लोगों पे अप्लाई हो जाता है। ठीक, कोई एग्जाम्पल दे सकता है? United States of America. If the Congress of United States of America signs a particular international covenant, it is directly made applicable to other people. लेकिन इंडिया में क्या है, आप साइन कर रहे हैं इंस्ट्रूमेंट ऑफ रैटिफिकेशन, उसको हम तब तक फॉलो नहीं करेंगे या फिर तब तक हम लोग उसके लिए बाउंड नहीं होंगे जब तक कि हम लोग वो लॉ एज अ बिल हमारे कंट्री में पास करा के एज अ टेरिटोरियल लॉ नहीं बनाते, तब तक हम लोग, यानी कि देयर इज अ टू प्रोसेस। डुअलिज्म क्यों कह रहे हैं? देयर इज two process. The first process is where the government is signing a instrument of ratification. Second, the government is inculcating all those the provisions of international covenant in its municipal law by an act of legislation. ये समझ में आया? क्लियर है यहाँ तक?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. तो जैसे कि हमने आपको बताया कन्वेंशन ऑन एलिमिनेशन ऑफ ऑल फॉर्म्स ऑफ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन अगेंस्ट वुमेन, इसी के अंदर आता है सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट एट वर्क प्लेस। इसका बिल हमारे कंट्री में कब आया, लॉ कब बना, 2013 में बना। इसको साइन हमने कब किया था, 1987 में साइन किया था। So that is the difference. That is dualistic approach where you और ये नहीं कह सकते, we cannot criticize the government, we cannot criticize कि भाई हमारे यहाँ लॉ तो इतना लेट से आ जाता है, गवर्नमेंट बेकार है, फलाना है, ढमकाना नहीं, no, we cannot say that. Our state, our country is of a very peculiar nature. Not everything can be made applicable at once. Not everything can be banished at once. That's very simple. You need to understand that the political status of our country is absolutely different. The public is of different nature. We are very sensitive towards our religion. तो religion में हमारे country में women का अलग status है. हम लोग we are more tend towards religion than the other aspects of life. ठीक है, हम लोग बहुत sentimental है. तो हम लोग हर चीज at once नहीं apply कर सकते हैं, which will abruptly change the entire notion of the society. All right, that is the reason. That is the reason reservation, the provision of reservation has been given. कि एक covenant जो है important है, अगर उसका एक दो provision अगर अपने ऊपर नहीं भी apply करता है, but we will have a good number of state जहाँ पे एक particular object can be achieved. अब इंटरनेशनल ह्यूमन राइट्स लॉ की बात की जाए तो द लॉज जितने भी तरह के आपको स्क्रीन पे आपको लॉज दिख रहे हैं, इंटरनेशनल कोवेनेंट दिख रहा है, वो सब क्या है, ये सारे कोवेनेंट पे कहीं ना कहीं किसी न किसी तरह का रिजर्वेशन लिया गया है इन ऑर्डर टू प्रमोट द यूनिवर्सैलिटी ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स। ठीक है, ह्यूमन राइट्स को प्रमोट करने के लिए उसको, लेकिन हाँ ये चीज है कि उसके एम्स एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव्स के अगेंस्ट नहीं जा सकते हैं, आपको इनके एम्स एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव्स को रिस्टोर करना है, आपको प्रमोट करना है। यू कैनॉट गो अगेंस्ट द एंटायर नोशन ऑफ द कोवेनेंट। ऑलराइट, ओके, मूविंग फॉरवर्ड, the reason why we have taken African Charter of Human and People's Right is because we do have those human rights in African Commission, and there is a separate body, human rights law जो भी develop हुआ है अफ्रीका में, we have this African Commission on Human Rights, Human and People Rights, जैसे इंडिया में भी है अपना, है ना, NHRC है, उसी तरीके से अफ्रीका में भी है, but the situation in Africa is deplorable. Why deplorable? Because Africa is a third world state, economy बहुत weak है, and there is no strict regulation of human rights law. वहाँ के labor laws are really pathetic, and usually अगर आप देखोगे तो multinational corporations they violate the labor of Africa. For example, Nike. ठीक है, तो the reason why I have taken it is because it is, though they have signed the instrument of ratification, they have signed the international covenant, yet there are very weak charter where the human rights is being maintained. Coming back to human rights in Latin America, ये जो Latin America का जो human rights है ना, ये बहुत strong है, and they actually took the initiative to establish the National Commission and overview or supervise the addressing the human rights. If in case there is a violation of human rights, then the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, it actually plays a very important role, and they give justice to even the individuals. All right, coming to human rights in Europe, human rights in Europe is actually a very good example, which has ensured peace, it has prevented future atrocities, and it has fostered stability. So European Convention on Human Rights is a role model for all of us. क्या हुआ उसमें, establish हुआ European Court of Human Rights. European Court of Human Rights की responsibility क्या थी? It has huge contribution towards the human rights jurisprudence. क्या contribution था भाई? वो उन्होंने बहुत strictly उसको follow किया, और जो भी gross violations हुए उसको banish किया. ठीक है. Coming to human rights law in India. ह्यूमन राइट्स लॉ इन इंडिया, सबको पता है कि ब्रिटिशर्स आए तो किस तरह का हमारे ऊपर कॉलोनियल ऑपरेशन हुआ था, किस तरह का हुआ था, सबको पता है. ठीक है, बट आफ्टर द इंडिपेंडेंस मूवमेंट वी वर इन अ वेरी स्टैग्नेंट पोजीशन. हमारे सिविल लिबर्टीज, क्योंकि इफ यू लुक इनटू द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया इज एन अमैलगमेशन ऑफ द बेस्ट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ दिस वर्ल्ड. ये भी कह सकते हैं कि हम लोगों ने बहुत सारी चीजें चुराई हैं बहुत सारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन से, yet it is one of the best constitution which can be made applicable in this particular country, taking into consideration the nature, geography, the society and everything. All right, so India even after getting independence had to face certain challenges. पहला, सोसाइटी बहुत ज्यादा स्टैग्नेंट हो गई थी. देयर वाज नो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चरल डेवलपमेंट. क्यों? क्योंकि सोसाइटी बहुत पुअर थी. देयर वाज पॉवर्टी, जेंडर इनइक्वालिटी, कास्ट बेस्ड डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, कम्युनल टेंशन विच वाज क्रिएटेड बाय द ब्रिटिशर्स ऑफ कोर्स, जो कि हमारे ह्यूमन राइट्स कंसर्न को बहुत ज्यादा प्रमोट नहीं कर पा रही थी. ठीक. If you look into the journey of human rights development in India, I will not uh, give a invest huge time to all these points, but you can see the chain of events which has actually solidified the concept of human rights law in this particular country. Prior to 1920s, अगर आप देखें तो ब्रिटिशर्स ने भी बहुत सारी चीजों को अबॉलिश किया था. क्या क्या? जैसे सती प्रथा को अबॉलिश किया गया था और स्लेवरी को बैन किया गया था. स्लेवरी को भी बैन किया गया था, अनटचेबिलिटी को बैन किया गया था. तो व्हाट वाज दिस? This was an initiative taken by the Britishers. Then Motilal Nehru Committee was formed, and again there was solidification of human rights. जहाँ पे जो डेली वेज वर्कर्स होते हैं, जो कमेटी होती है, उसके बारे में उसने बात की थी. The Simon Commission and Resistance, I think you can get it in the history. Then again in the year 1927, which I believe is a landmark, where there were certain demands for fundamental rights. Why? Because if no doubt सती प्रथा बैन हुआ, no doubt untouchability ban हुआ, लेकिन there were gross violation of fundamental rights. For example, there was a gross violation of freedom of speech and expression. There was a gross violation of right to life and personal liberty. Then there was certain committee established, Sapru committee, and then there were other certain committees established. Then we came across the Constitution of India Bill 1895, which was the main document. All right. Then we incorporated the preamble to the Indian Constitution, and rest is history. We know everything about it. To have a preamble, if you look into the preamble reflects each and everything of our Constitution. Part 3 is the fundamental rights. All right. Then we have Universal Declaration of Human Rights. क्योंकि इंडिया ने साइन किया था, तो you will have to inculcate in our our municipal laws. ठीक है. So India actively supported the adoption of UDHR in the year 1948, and India's struggle for independence was actually the dedication to international human rights principle, emphasizing justice and fairness. We all know about the non-alignment movement again. India's leadership in the movement showcased its commitment to global human rights. Then constitutional alignment, global advocacy. India has been one of the countries who had remained global advocate for human rights. Then India, in spite of being, I mean, we cannot deny the fact that it is culturally diverse country, yet we acknowledge all the diverse and cultural and the social context. Though we have another argument where we have been talking about UCC, but India in all aspects have respected cultural diversity. Now this particular chart I have made for a comparative analysis, where you can see what all we have inculcated from ICCPR and IESCR, and we have inculcated in our Indian Constitution. All right. These again are those documents which India have been a part of and have ratified these treaties and conventions. So there is universal periodic review, and India has participated in UPR and is willing to receive constructive feedback. The reason why I'm citing all these things, though India has other part also where we have witnessed gross violations of human rights, yet we are the global advocate of human rights law. All right, we have certain domestic laws, certain domestic legislations. What are these legislations? You know that there is Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. We have Domestic Violence Act. We have Person with Disabilities Act. We have Right to Education Act, National Food Security, JJ Act, Person with Disabilities Act 2016, which have added certain provisions to 1995 Act. And then in the year 2021, which was again a huge contribution towards a particular community of the society, the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2021. So we have three very important organs of the government: executive, legislature, and judiciary. Judiciary has been, by its judicial activism, has taken a lot of initiative to prevent the the human rights of the society, no matter whether it has been brought before the court. Yet the judiciary has taken a first step towards the society and have tried to actually take it suo moto. Okay? But again, no matter how high soever you are, you cannot be flawless. You cannot be infallible. So, what kind of challenges did we face? We faced the challenges like the implementation of human rights law at the grassroots level is really, really difficult. You have no idea what kind of human rights atrocities have been faced at police level. You know what is police atrocity. But yet again, um, just because there have been something bad going on, there have been certain implementational issue going on, doesn't matter, doesn't necessarily confirm the fact that we cannot do it. We can obviously do it. We have a huge opportunities aligned with the national legislation, and international human rights standard can actually enhance the India's human right standing. So there have been, due to paucity of time, I would like to just summarize this particular, whereby I have given certain recommendations to improve human rights law in India. For example, public awareness. सबको पता है कि we, there are a group of people in the society. There are people who are not aware of their rights, and they have not been properly educated, so they cannot fight against the violations of human rights. So we need to make them we need to make the public aware of their rights. We need to make the government accountable, and we need to protect the vulnerable groups where the people are not educated, they're not aware. We need to have an obligation. We are under an obligation to protect those vulnerable groups. We need to eliminate the torture and custodial abuse. This is what I was talking about. The police atrocities. We need to eliminate the torture. We need to eliminate all sort of abuses that happens in the custody. And we have NHRC in this particular country. We need to give some more power to it and some more checks and balance, whereby the human rights law can be restored in this country. And then we need to protect the freedom of expression. By saying protection of freedom of expression, both these things come into picture. The freedom of speech and expression by the media as well by the people. Now in this country, if you're expressing yourself and you're saying something, you're criticizing the government in a very healthy manner, then it means that you're going against the government. It means that it's just that we have elected a particular group of people to rule over us, and we have every right to criticize them. So we need to make media even more powerful, and we have to protect the freedom of expression. We have been given the entitlement of reservation, but on a periodically we have to review these reservations. Now we cannot give the benefit of reservations blindly. There are people who deserve it. There are people who do not deserve it. We need to segregate that. We need to make another landmark where we need to review the Mandal Commission. We need to collect the data and analyze whether this particular reservation should be given to this particular community or not. We need to collaborate with international bodies, and we should come up with our own legislative reforms. Now, ये कहना बहुत आसान है कि we should come up with legislative reforms. Yet, it should be followed by data collection and analysis. We need to review the reservation. We need to understand where are we lacking at grassroots level. हमारी सबसे बड़ी दिक्कत ये है कि we are bad at the implementation level itself. All right. So I think I have covered all the aspects, but I would like to open the floor for questions, and I would like to answer if anybody comes up with anything. I would love to answer that. Yeah, Raki, please go ahead.
Oh, good evening, ma'am.
Hi, Raki.
Actually, I'm an advocate, and I want to discuss one thing. You are well aware about the provision of Domestic Violence Act that
Hello.
is specifically for females.
Mhm.
So, in one of my case, one female who separated her husband by making him ousted of her house,
Mhm.
then moved to court and take the protection order. And after taking protection order against her husband, she left the premises and remarried without giving divorce to her actual husband.
Mhm.
Even in that situation, the court to which we have submitted all the documents of a second marriage, photographs and all. The court ordered to pay the maintenance to the wife.
Hmm.
So isn't it the infringement of human right of the husband or not?
It is. When I stated that UDHR is one of the most landmark documents which has solidified the human rights, is because the Article 1 says equality and rule against non-discrimination. No matter you're a woman or a man, you need to understand that human rights is for everybody. If you're doing it with a man, it is bad. It is a violation of a human right. You are actually torturing that person. You are actually playing the mental health of that person, and you cannot do
Exactly.
that. And I believe that judiciary should act with a great circumspection before deciding anything. If you have documents which solidifies the cases, which actually establishes the cases, I think judiciary, see, I am not here to criticize any judge or any judgment. What I am saying is that in these cases the bent of the judges are always towards women. That's what I have noticed, which is not good. The society, the orientation of the society, the entire society is changing. So we need to understand that everything and anything which has been taken up by a woman cannot be, हर कोई अबला नारी नहीं होती है. There is always the
Exactly.
other side. There's always the other side of the story. So yeah,
So I have another query. So
please.
on this basis, can we move to Human Right Commission?
Yes, why not? I think whenever we are talking about Human Rights Commission, it's Human Rights Commission. Women Commission पे नहीं जाना है हमें. अगर
Yes,
हम
yes.
लोग उसकी बात करें तो of course you can go and file an application to the NHRC and then they can take it from here. See, the reason why I said that we have a problem at grassroots level is because we do face implementational problem. ठीक है, अगर आप NHRC जाओगे भी वहाँ पे application file करोगे, it will take some time, but I think they will take an initiative to resolve this.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're most welcome. I will take up some questions from the chat box. Kushi, can you wait for 2 minutes? Yeah. So Alok has said, what are your views on the media when they interpret the news in false way and misuse the free speech? Just for TRP and publicity stunt, shall they not be liable? Let's not talk about media right now because trust me, I am a person who can speak against media non-stop for hours. I'll tell you, the position given to media in this country is as a fourth pillar of democracy. Fourth pillar of democracy. And this media has been crippled. If you पहले न्यूज़ चैनल चलते रहता था हमारे घर में सुबह में नॉन स्टॉप, लेकिन अब न्यूज़ चैनल कोई ओपन नहीं करता है. व्हाई? बिकॉज इट इज नॉट रिलायबल. I think media has been crippled badly. Anybody who puts their opinion freely on public platform, they are not safe anymore in this country. And I believe uh, it is for TRP purpose or for public. It is a publicity stunt. No matter what, media was under an obligation to provide news to general public. It was to provide a platform where you can criticize the government in a healthy manner. It was to make the government accountable. Now, whatever I'm saying right now is not happening in this country. So now the reliability, the accountability of media is zero. There are very few channels, YouTube channels that too I would say, which can be said that कि हाँ इस पे हम लोग रिलाई कर सकते हैं, ये ट्रू न्यूज़ है, ये फैक्ट स्टेट कर रहे हैं, लेकिन बाकी सारी जो मीडिया है, अब वो भी नॉन मीडिया, the known media that I'm talking about is now with no reliability, no accountability. The country is going in a very bad state. Very bad state. Khushi, please.
I just had a simple question. Like you talked about the different form, like different types of human rights prevailing in the different countries. So, like the human rights in Latin America, human rights in Europe.
It's not different categories of human rights prevailing in these countries. That these countries have created a committee अंडर देयर ओन लेजिस्लेशन. जैसे अपने यहाँ NHRC है, उसी तरीके से वहाँ पे कोर्ट भी स्टैब्लिश किया गया है. हमारे यहाँ एक सेपरेट कोर्ट नहीं है ह्यूमन राइट वायलेशन देखने के लिए, लेकिन अमेरिका में और यूरोपियन स्टेट्स में there are separate states which look into the violations of human rights. Now you ask,
Ma'am, is it does it fall under the UNHRC's convention, or it is something different from
No,
that?
it is a regional convention. इंटरनेशनल कन्वेंशन क्या होते हैं, जो मल्टीलैटरल नेचर के होते हैं, ठीक है। अब जैसे यूरोपियन कन्वेंशन ऑन ह्यूमन राइट्स, नाम से पता चल रहा है कि ये कन्वेंशन सिर्फ और सिर्फ यूरोपियन स्टेट्स के लिए है, ठीक। उसी तरीके से इंटर अमेरिकन ह्यूमन राइट्स लॉ क्या है, जो सिर्फ अमेरिकन स्टेट्स पे अप्लाई होते हैं। सिमिलरली हमारे जो कुछ कन्वेंशन होते हैं वो रीजनल होते हैं, कुछ ग्लोबल होते हैं, ठीक है। रीजनल जहाँ पे सिर्फ एक साइड के लोग होते हैं या फिर एक पर्टिकुलर ग्रुप के लोग होते हैं। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अब अगर आप यूरोप में देख लो, यूरोप में बहुत सारे स्टेट्स हैं, अमेरिका में देख लो, अमेरिका में बहुत सारे स्टेट्स हैं, लेकिन वो सिर्फ वहीं तक सीमित है, वो रीजनल होते हैं। और अगर आप यूनाइटेड डिक्लेरेशन यूनिवर्सल डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स की बात करें तो वो ग्लोबल होते हैं, ठीक है,
So,
वो ग्लोबली अलग काम करते हैं।
so it's a kind of their own initiative, different from the United Nations initiative.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what they have done, they have inculcated all the provisions, लेकिन उन्होंने सबसे अच्छा काम क्या किया, उन्होंने अपनी बॉडी बहुत सॉलिड बनाई। उन्होंने कहा कि भाई हमारा कोर्ट भी अलग होगा, हमारे लॉयर्स भी अलग होंगे, और हमारी कमेटी भी दूसरी होगी जो कि ये सारे ग्रॉस वायलेशंस ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट को देखेगी। तो वो उन्होंने क्या किया, उनको एम्पावर कर दिया, कोर्ट को एम्पावर किया, कमेटी को एम्पावर की, और वर स्ट्रॉन्ग इनफ, क्योंकि उनका ये जो स्टेट्स है ना वो डेवलप स्टेट्स हैं, दे कैन डू दैट।
Like there is a UNHRC, United Nations Human Rights Commission,
कमेटी, राइट।
committee. Then why did these countries make their own legislations for human rights?
I'll tell you why. So in any case, you have to incorporate those international provisions into your own body, into your own. अब जैसे हमारे यहाँ है ह्यूमन राइट्स का, जैसे कि मैंने स्लाइड में आपको दिखाया भी था कि हम लोगों ने तो यूडीएचआर साइन किया हुआ है, फिर हमारे पास ये डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ लॉ क्यों है, शेड्यूल कास्ट एंड शेड्यूल ट्राइब्स प्रिवेंशन ऑफ एट्रोसिटीज एक्ट 1989 क्यों है, राइट टू एजुकेशन एक्ट क्यों है, हमें तो पता है कि राइट टू एजुकेशन है, नेशनल फूड सिक्योरिटी एक्ट क्यों है। ये इसलिए है क्योंकि हम लोग इसको अपने म्युनिसिपल लॉ में इनकॉर्पोरेट कर रहे हैं, एंड जस्ट टू सॉलिडिफाई इट, जस्ट टू पुट इट, एस्टैब्लिश इट वेरी स्ट्रांगली, ये रीजनल अपने भी, अब वो जो है उनका सुपरविजन इतना स्ट्रांग नहीं है जितना आप रीजनल लेवल का करोगे। क्या यूनाइटेड यूनिवर्सल डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स के अंदर में जो कमिटी बन रही है, कैन दैट कमिटी इफेक्टिवली सुपरवाइज ऑल द स्टेट्स? It is practically not possible. It is not at all possible. So the reason why these, अच्छा वहां पे कोई ह्यूमन राइट वायलेशन होगा तो 2/3 मेजोरिटी से पास होगा, उसके बाद उसके अगेंस्ट कोई एक्शन लेंगे। इन्होंने क्या किया भाई, अपना लॉ बनाया है और उन्होंने अपने ह्यूमन राइट्स लॉ को सेव करने के लिए, सॉलिडिफाई करने के लिए अपने म्युनिसिपल लॉ में इसको इनकॉर्पोरेट कर दिया है, ठीक। इसलिए इसको कहते हैं रीजनल लॉ। Anybody else? It was a good interactive session. Thank you so much, everyone.
So, yeah, as we conclude this enlightening session, we must remember that the journey towards safeguarding human rights is ongoing. The insight shared today serves as a catalyst for our collective efforts. Let us leave here not only inspired but also equipped with the knowledge and determination to campaign the cause of human rights in our respective spheres of influence. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Miss Heena Parveen for her time, expertise, and unwavering commitment to human rights. Our appreciation also goes out to all of you, our valued audience, for your presence and engagement. As we disperse, let's carry with us the responsibility to be an ambassadors of change. Let's stand up for justice, equality, and the rights of all the individuals. Together we can make a difference. Until then, stay curious, keep learning till the next meet. Thank you.